People fall in love with you only for two reasons. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered why certain people fall so deeply in love with you, almost as if they were destined to? It's not just your looks, charm, or charisma. According to Carl Jung, there are two powerful, hidden reasons rooted deep in the unconscious mind that draw people to you. In this video, we'll explore how these profound psychological truths can transform your relationships and your understanding of yourself. As you watch, think about your own experiences with love and attraction. Which of these reasons resonates with your story? Comment below to share your insights. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to keep growing with us here at Spiritual Wisdom. 1. Love isn't random. It's deeply psychological. Carl Jung believed that love is not a random emotion or an accidental spark, but rather a precise psychological response to something buried deep within us. What we call falling in love is often the psyche's way of reaching toward completion. It's not your smile, your intelligence, or your beauty that pulls someone in, at least not in the deepest sense. Instead, it's the energy you carry, the reflection of something they unconsciously lack or yearn to integrate. What feels like chemistry is often the recognition of an internal blueprint seeking wholeness. In Jungian psychology, this is known as projection. When someone meets you, their unconscious mind may project traits they've repressed or neglected onto you. You don't just become a person in their life, you become a symbol. A man may fall for a woman because she mirrors his inner feminine essence, the anima. She represents emotional depth, creativity, or intuitive power he hasn't yet fully embraced. Likewise, a woman may be drawn to a man who embodies her animus, her own unexpressed logic, confidence, or spiritual drive. The connection feels electric, not because it's magical, but because it awakens something dormant. This projection is not deception. It's not about pretending or manipulating. It's about resonance. You awaken parts of them that were asleep. They see in you the pieces they're missing. And the more unconscious those pieces are, the stronger the pull. It's why love at first sight feels so intense. It's not love for you, but for the symbol you've unknowingly become in their inner narrative. This is the silent language of the soul, recognizing its own reflection. From the lens of spiritual wisdom, this is a sacred exchange. You become a mirror, not just for attraction, but for transformation. You help others confront what they've denied in themselves, emotions they've suppressed, dreams they've abandoned, strength they've forgotten. And they do the same for you. Every powerful love story is also a confrontation with the self. That's why love can be beautiful, but also destabilizing. It challenges your identity. It pushes you to grow. Sometimes, people fall in love with you, not because of who you are, but because of what you activate in them. You might remind them of a nurturing parent, or represent the freedom they crave. You might symbolize the stability they never had, or the adventure they've been too afraid to pursue. They see not just a person, but a path. You become the doorway to a version of themselves they want to reach. That is why love, when unconscious, can quickly shift when the illusion dissolves. So does the infatuation. But when the connection becomes conscious, when both people see beyond the projections, love evolves into something authentic, healing, and transformative. You are not just someone to be admired. You are a spiritual catalyst. People fall in love with you because they feel seen, awakened, and called into becoming. And this truth is not meant to flatter your ego. It is meant to awaken your awareness. Love is not only a feeling. It is the soul's journey home, guided by reflections, mirrors, and echoes of itself. Comment below. I am ready to understand love on a deeper level, if this message resonates with you. 2. First reason. People fall in love. You represent something they lack. People don't always fall in love with who you truly are. More often, they fall for what you represent to them, something they feel is missing within themselves. Carl Jung explained that love is often not about admiration, but projection. You become a mirror reflecting back a part of them they've long buried or never developed. For instance, a cautious, rule-abiding person may be deeply drawn to someone who is bold and carefree. It's not that they love your boldness in isolation, but rather that your presence awakens a longing to live more freely, to feel what they have denied themselves. This type of attraction is magnetic because it's rooted in the psyche. Jung believed that the unconscious mind seeks wholeness. When we meet someone who appears to carry the traits we lack, our inner world lights up. Suddenly, we feel alive, connected, and complete. But it's an illusion. They are not loving you. They are loving the part of themselves they wish they could reclaim. That's why this kind of love often begins intensely, with a flood of emotions, and then just as suddenly starts to fade. The danger is this: when someone uses you as a substitute for inner integration, the relationship becomes fragile. At first, your presence feels like medicine to their soul. But over time, the burden of being their emotional anchor grows heavy. The moment you stop fulfilling the image they've projected onto you, disillusionment sets in. What once felt like destiny begins to feel like disappointment. In today's world, you can see this pattern everywhere. A high achiever might fall for someone artistic and unconventional, believing they've found the freedom they crave. But instead of developing that freedom within, they try to possess it in the form of a partner. They mistake the relationship for healing, but healing doesn't happen through clinging, it happens through self-awareness. And when the illusion breaks, both people suffer. One feels abandoned, the other feels suffocated by unrealistic expectations. According to Carl Jung, real love doesn't begin until the projection ends. That's when two individuals stop using each other as emotional tools and start seeing each other clearly. You cannot heal someone by being what they lack. They have to walk their own path back to wholeness. You can inspire them, but you cannot complete them. This is the spiritual wisdom behind the mystery of love. People are not drawn to your surface. They are drawn to their own reflection within you. Your energy stirs something dormant in their soul. But true connection only lasts when it's grounded in reality, not fantasy, when love becomes a choice, not a projection. Have you ever felt someone was drawn to you, not for who you are, but for what you represent in their inner world? If so, share your experience in the comments so others can reflect and learn. If not, comment, "I'm ready to explore my deeper self," and join us on this journey of spiritual insight and self-awareness. 3. Jung's concept of projection. We all carry hidden aspects of ourselves, unspoken desires, forgotten strengths, suppressed emotions. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the unconscious part of our psyche where we store everything we've rejected or lost touch with. These traits don't simply vanish. They wait. They linger beneath the surface of our awareness, seeking expression, seeking a mirror. And when we meet someone who reflects these hidden qualities back to us, something electric happens. We feel drawn in, almost magnetically. But what we're really seeing in them is a part of ourselves that we've been starving to reclaim. This is what Jung called projection. It's not love in the purest sense. It's recognition. Not of the other person, but of the part of you they unknowingly bring to life. You might think you've fallen for their confidence, their mystery, their passion, but it's actually your own suppressed confidence, buried mystery, and hidden passion reaching up from the depths to be seen. Jung warned that unless we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we'll call it fate. And nowhere is this more visible than in our relationships. This is why so many connections feel intense in the beginning, but later dissolve into confusion. The illusion fades, the projection lifts, and the person standing in front of us no longer matches the story we wrote about them in our minds. We didn't fall in love with who they are. We fell in love with what they awakened in us. That realization can be painful, but it's also sacred. Because the moment you see it clearly is the moment your spiritual awakening begins. Spiritual awakening isn't always about peace or bliss. Sometimes it begins with heartbreak, with disillusionment, with the humbling truth that love can be more about self-discovery than shared destiny. Yet this awakening is a gift. It teaches you to look inward, to explore your own unmet needs, unlived dreams, and unexplored emotions. And as you reclaim those parts of yourself, something shifts. You stop seeking completion in others. You start recognizing wholeness within. So why do people fall in love with you? Often, it's because you reflect something they long to reclaim in themselves. You become their mirror, their reminder, their unconscious teacher. At times, they fall in love with your light because it helps them see through their own darkness. Other times, they love you not for who you are, but for who they are still becoming in your presence. Either way, you play a sacred role in their evolution, just as others have played that role in yours. And when projection dissolves and the illusion fades, what's left is a choice: to love someone for who they truly are, not just what they represent. That's where real love begins, not in fantasy, but in awareness. Not in projection, but in presence. And this is the essence of spiritual wisdom: to meet others not with the blindness of longing, but with the clarity of truth. Are you ready to reclaim the parts of yourself you've unknowingly projected onto others? If so, comment below. I see my shadow, to affirm your commitment to self-awareness and inner healing. 4. Second reason, people fall in love. You awaken their anima, animus. Carl Jung's theory of the anima and animus reveals a powerful truth behind why people fall in love with you. And it has little to do with your personality, appearance, or achievements. Deep within the unconscious of every man lives an image of the ideal feminine, the anima. In every woman, a mirror image exists, the animus, a symbolic representation of the masculine. These inner figures are not based on logic or preference, but are shaped by early childhood experiences and the universal symbols embedded in the collective unconscious. They form silently over years, built from the emotional imprints left by parents, caregivers, and the world around us. So when someone meets you, and instantly feels an intense magnetic pull. It's often because you reflect something deeply buried within them. You mirror their inner archetype. It feels like destiny, but in truth, it is projection. The force they experience is not merely attraction, it is recognition. A recognition of something lost, something they've been unknowingly searching for within themselves. You awaken their anima or animus, and in doing so, you stir their inner world. What they see in you is not just who you are, it is who they have longed for in the hidden chambers of their psyche. That longing is ancient, emotional, and often mistaken for fate. This is why love can feel so sudden and consuming. It's not always about chemistry in the outer world, but resonance in the inner one. You become the carrier of their soul's image, a vessel through which their unconscious expresses its deepest desires. And while that may sound romantic, it's not always rooted in reality. In truth, what they love might not be you, but what you represent a missing piece of themselves. And that's the beautiful, yet fragile truth. Love born from projection can feel spiritual, but it can also be fleeting. Still, this type of connection serves a sacred purpose. Jung believed that through romantic encounters, especially those that awaken the anima or animus, the soul begins to heal and grow. These relationships become vessels for inner transformation, catalysts for spiritual awakening. When someone projects their inner ideal onto you, it challenges both of you to look within, to question, and to evolve. Whether the relationship lasts or fades, it leaves behind a mirror. It shows you your light and your shadow. It shows them what they've been unconsciously yearning to become. Spiritual wisdom teaches us to observe these connections without losing ourselves in them, to see the difference between authentic love and psychological projection, to understand that sometimes we are not loved for who we are, but for what we awaken. And in that realization, there is freedom. Because when you stop needing to be the fantasy, you begin to live as your truth. Have you ever met someone who felt instantly familiar, like a dream you forgot, but suddenly remembered? If so, share your story in the comments so others can reflect too. If not, comment, "I will explore within," to begin the journey of understanding your anima or animus. 5. The illusion of archetypal love. Most people think love begins with chemistry or compatibility, but Carl Jung taught us that love often starts with projection of the unconscious mind, seeing something deeply symbolic in another person. When someone falls in love with you, it's rarely just because of your personality, appearance, or charm. It's because you represent something far more powerful, an archetype. You awaken a dormant energy inside them, one they've been unconsciously searching for. This is the first profound reason people fall in love with you. They're not falling for you. They're falling for what you symbolize in their psyche. Jung explained that every person carries within them inner images of masculine and feminine ideals, the anima and animus. These are not conscious preferences, but deeply embedded patterns rooted in collective human experience. When someone meets a person who embodies their inner ideal, they experience an almost mystical attraction. You feel like destiny. You feel like the missing piece. But what they're really seeing is the reflection of their own unconscious longing projected onto you. This is why relationships can start out feeling euphoric, almost like a fairy tale. The energy is intense, the bond feels fated, and the emotional high is addictive. But over time, the cracks begin to show. Because projections cannot survive the weight of reality. As your true self emerges with contradictions, fears, and complexities, the fantasy begins to fall apart. You're no longer the flawless savior or goddess they imagined. You are human. This is where many relationships break. They were built not on real knowing, but on illusion. The love was not for you, but for the ideal you accidentally embodied. Take the story of Mia and Lucas. In the early months, Lucas worshipped Mia's independence, her fiery energy, her emotional depth. To him, she was everything he thought he lacked. But when Mia showed signs of vulnerability or doubt, Lucas became distant. The image he had created didn't allow for weakness. What he fell in love with was his projection, not her truth. And when the illusion dissolved, so did the love. This brings us to the second reason people fall in love with you. Not just because you mirror their unconscious ideal, but because you awaken parts of themselves they have buried or forgotten. You may trigger their desire to be free or to live with more authenticity. You might carry an energy that touches the truth they've been avoiding. In this way, you become a catalyst, not a partner, but a spiritual mirror. They don't love you for who you are. They love what being around you makes them feel more alive, more whole, more seen. This is why spiritual wisdom warns us not to confuse intensity with intimacy. True love begins when the projections fall, and two people are willing to see each other clearly without the filter of fantasy. Lasting love isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's choosing to stay after the shine wears off. It's recognizing the humanity behind the symbol. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Love rooted in projection will always feel like fate until it crumbles. But love rooted in awareness feels different. It's not a high. It's a grounding. It's not about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming someone who is whole enough to love without illusion. If you've ever felt the sting of love fading once the fantasy is gone, you're not alone. Leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss deep insights like this. And in the comments, type, "I choose real love over illusion." Let's awaken together. 6. Love as a tool for growth and individuation. Carl Jung believed that love, no matter how painful, is never a mistake. It's a sacred path, one that leads you back to yourself. Every person you fall for is not simply someone you're drawn to. They are a mirror, reflecting hidden dimensions of your psyche. Whether they awaken your longing, your fear, your unhealed wounds, or your forgotten strengths, their presence in your life activates something dormant inside you. Love becomes the trigger that starts the journey inward. And this, Jung teaches, is not random. It is the soul's call to transformation, a call that often comes disguised as romance. When you feel magnetically pulled to someone, it's not just about chemistry. It's a projection of the self. You see in them a part of you that you've denied, craved, or never dared to explore. They might represent your strength, your vulnerability, your freedom, or your chaos. And that intensity you feel? It's your unconscious recognizing itself in another form. Jung called this the process of individuation, the lifelong quest to become whole by integrating all the parts of your being, both light and shadow. And love, especially romantic love, accelerates this process. It's the fire that burns away illusion and the mirror that reveals truth. It brings your unresolved emotions to the surface. It confronts you with your ego. It invites you to heal childhood wounds and question the masks you wear. This is why relationships can feel both exhilarating and excruciating. They stretch you. They strip you. They force you to grow. The person you love most may not be meant to stay, but they are always meant to awaken. They're the soul's invitation to evolve. In this sense, people fall in love with you for two deep reasons. One, because you unknowingly reflect back their unconscious desires or suppressed traits. And two, because their soul senses that your presence will initiate their growth. You are not just loved for who you are. You are loved for the transformation you represent. This is the hidden architecture of attraction. It is not surface level. It is soul deep. Love is not only an emotional experience, it is a spiritual awakening. The more conscious you become of this, the more clarity and compassion you'll bring into your relationships. So, when love arrives and then disappears, or when it feels overwhelming and destabilizing, know that something deeper is at work. You are not being punished, you are being refined. The soul uses love to open your eyes and break your patterns. It uses longing to bring you back to yourself. Love, in Jung's view, is never just about the other person. It is about what they awaken in you. And when you understand this, you stop asking, "Why did they leave?" and begin asking, "What did they reveal?" That's where the real transformation begins. If this message helped you see love in a new light, leave a comment below. I embrace love as a mirror for my growth. Every connection is guiding me toward wholeness. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual insight on your journey to self-discovery. 7. The real meaning of romantic encounters. Not all romantic relationships are meant to last forever. Some come into your life like a storm, not to stay, but to shake you awake. These connections are designed to disrupt old patterns, stir long-forgotten emotions, and initiate a process of inner transformation. Carl Jung called them synchronistic events, not random, but perfectly timed on a soul level. They show up precisely when your spirit needs them most, even if your mind isn't ready. What seems like chance is often a deeper form of spiritual wisdom at work life, delivering exactly who and what you need for your next level of growth. There are relationships that break patterns, those deeply magnetic encounters that trigger your wounds, fears, and past conditioning. They mirror what still needs healing inside you. You may find yourself repeating the same emotional loops: abandonment, betrayal, or codependency. But it's not punishment, it's revelation. That person isn't the source of your pain. They're the reflection of it. And once the mirror is held up, you can finally begin the process of healing what was once unconscious. In this way, love becomes a spiritual teacher, not through comfort, but through confrontation. Other encounters awaken dormant energy inside you. You feel alive in ways you hadn't for years, more expressive, more sensual, more inspired. Something about their presence unlocks a forgotten part of you. It could be your creativity, your passion, or your courage to finally speak your truth. These are the people who don't just love you, they ignite you. Their role isn't to complete your life, but to remind you of the power already within it. In these moments, spiritual awakening happens not through solitude, but through shared electricity, through the soul's recognition that something sacred is stirring. Then there are those who arrive to teach you hard truths. These are not soft, easy loves. They are fierce, catalytic, and often heartbreaking. They expose the illusions you've clung to, the lies you've told yourself, and the dreams that were never truly yours. They shatter the fantasy so that you can finally face reality. But it's in this raw, painful clarity that the deepest growth begins. Jung believed that the shadow of the part of ourselves we repress is often projected onto those we fall for. And when that projection collapses, what's left is not just grief, but wisdom. A deeper knowing of who you are, what you need, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Every person who enters your romantic life brings a lesson, even if it comes wrapped in longing or loss. When you look back, you'll see how each encounter shaped you, how some pushed you to your edge, while others pulled you back to yourself. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that love isn't always about finding the one who stays. Sometimes it's about meeting the one who changes everything. The ones who awaken you, confront you, mirror you, or inspire you are all part of your soul's curriculum. Their presence is never wasted. Their impact is never random. They are, in truth, the messengers of your evolution. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on how every romantic encounter, no matter how brief, can awaken your soul, shift your energy, and lead you closer to who you're meant to become. 8. Awareness transforms love. If we do not become conscious of our patterns, we are destined to repeat the same kind of heartbreak again and again. Carl Jung believed that love, at its core, is not random. It is a mirror. We're drawn to people who reflect something hidden within us, often something unresolved. That's why many of us keep falling in love with the same type of person. Someone who triggers familiar emotions, even if they lead us to pain. These aren't coincidences. They are signals from the unconscious mind, inviting us to awaken. When you are unaware of your inner world, your relationships are shaped by projection. You don't fall in love with the real person. You fall in love with the idea of them. Jung called these inner templates archetypes, images formed by your psyche, shaped through childhood experiences, cultural expectations, and deep emotional imprints. For men, it's the anima, the feminine ideal. For women, it's the animus, the masculine ideal. And when someone in the outer world matches these inner images, attraction ignites. But it's not true love. It's a reflection of your inner world projected onto another human being. This is why awareness is the beginning of healing. When you start to observe your thoughts and emotional reactions with clarity, you recognize the patterns. You stop saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" and start asking, "What within me keeps attracting this?" That shift is where transformation begins. Love turns from fantasy into something real, built not on illusion, but on understanding. You no longer fall in love with a person to complete you. You connect with someone who complements your wholeness. Take the story of Michael. He constantly found himself in relationships where he felt emotionally starved, always chasing validation, never feeling enough. After working with a Jungian therapist, he uncovered the truth. He was projecting his unresolved relationship with his emotionally distant mother onto every woman he dated. Once he became aware of that wound, he stopped trying to earn love through performance. He learned to give love to himself, and in doing so, he attracted someone who saw him for who he really was, not the role he had been playing. Awareness transforms love into something grounded and liberating. You begin to choose from a place of peace, not desperation, from authenticity, not fear. You realize that love is not about being rescued or rescuing someone else. It's about two people showing up whole and choosing each other consciously. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches us that romantic attraction is not always about the other person. It's often about what's been buried deep in your psyche, longing to be brought to light through connection. Once you see your own inner landscape clearly, your outer relationships change. You stop mistaking intensity for intimacy. You stop chasing people who reflect your wounds. And you begin to build love on the foundation of self-awareness, truth, and emotional responsibility. In this space, love is no longer an escape. It becomes a path to growth and inner peace. To affirm your commitment to conscious love and inner growth, comment below, "I choose awareness." Your words may spark someone else's awakening. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more insights on healing, truth, and transformation. Love is never random. As Carl Jung reminds us, people are drawn to you not just for who you are on the outside, but because you awaken something deep within their soul. Whether it's a reflection of their unconscious self or the longing for inner wholeness, your presence holds meaning far beyond words. If this message has resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful new video. Your journey of awakening is just beginning. 7 signs that you are about to begin the best stage of your life. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. If you've been feeling like something is shifting deep within you, like the old ways no longer fit, and the new has yet to fully arrive, this may not be a coincidence. It could be a spiritual signal that you're about to step into the most fulfilling stage of your life. In today's video, from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll uncover 7 powerful signs that you're on the verge of a major inner breakthrough. Have you noticed changes in your energy, mindset, or intuition lately? Let us know in the comments your story might inspire someone else. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of your transformation journey. Sign 1. Reevaluating meaning. Titles, achievements, and external validation begin to lose their appeal, not because you failed, but because you've outgrown them. What once lit a fire in you now feels strangely hollow. The applause fades. The promotions feel mechanical. Something inside stirs, asking a deeper question. What truly nourishes my soul? It's not confusion. It's a recalibration of your inner compass. The rules you once lived by no longer resonate because your spirit is beginning to speak louder than your ego. And when that inner voice grows stronger, it quietly dismantles the illusions you've built your life upon. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It begins subtly, with a restlessness in rooms that used to feel comfortable, with conversations that no longer hold depth, and with goals that feel misaligned. You start to crave meaning, not metrics, purpose, not prestige. There's a pull toward solitude, not out of sadness, but because silence has started to feel more honest than empty talk. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that this discomfort is sacred. It's the soil in which transformation grows. Carl Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And in this darkness, you begin to see with new eyes." As your vibration changes, so do your relationships. You might notice certain people drifting away, not from drama, but from energetic misalignment. They no longer meet you where you are going. And while this can feel like loss, it's actually space being made for what is real, for those who meet you with depth, not ego. You begin to crave soul resonance, not social obligation. And in doing so, you start to attract those who mirror your inner truth, not your past personas. This reevaluation of life is not an end, it's an awakening. You become more attuned to energy, more aware of what drains you and what uplifts you. You no longer chase validation because you've learned to validate yourself. You live slower, but feel deeper. You listen more, but speak with power. This is not weakness, it's spiritual refinement. You are stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't perform for approval, but flows from authenticity. You make decisions not from fear of missing out, but from alignment with your soul's timing. In this stage, clarity comes in stillness. Peace becomes your compass. And freedom is no longer about doing what you want, but about being who you truly are. The need to explain yourself fades. You realize that understanding is not owed, it's earned by those willing to meet you in presence. You don't force anything anymore. If it's meant, it flows. If it's forced, it's a message. And through it all, you begin to feel lighter, not because life is easier, but because you've stopped carrying what isn't yours. This is what it means to reevaluate meaning. It's not a crisis, it's a calling. A spiritual initiation that gently strips away what is false to reveal what has always been true. You're not falling behind, you're finally arriving. Are you starting to feel that external success just isn't enough anymore? If this message speaks to your soul, comment below. I choose alignment to affirm your commitment to living with deeper purpose and inner truth. Sign 2. Disconnection from your former self. People, routines, and old joys begin to feel strangely foreign. The friends who once felt like home now seem to speak a different language. Your favorite hobbies feel dull, and even the routines that once gave you a sense of control start to feel restrictive. This isn't random. It's the beginning of a sacred unraveling, one that Carl Jung referred to as the process of individuation. You are not breaking down. You are breaking away from who you were told to be, so you can finally meet who you truly are. During this phase, there's a quiet grief that arises, not the dramatic kind, but a soft, lingering ache. It's the soul mourning the version of you that was built on survival, approval, and social roles. You may feel like you're walking away from your own history, and in many ways, you are. The masks you've worn, the roles you've played, the expectations you've carried, they start to fall off one by one. At first, it feels disorienting, but then something shifts. Beneath all that shedding, you begin to notice a subtle but powerful presence emerging, your authentic self. One woman described waking up one day in her high-paying job and realizing she no longer recognized the life she had worked so hard to build. The title, the paycheck, the praise, it all rang hollow. And for the first time, she didn't want to climb the ladder. She wanted to step off it entirely. This wasn't a failure. this was clarity. That moment of disconnection was the moment her life began to realign with her truth. She didn't know the full path yet, but the first step was simply honoring what no longer resonated. Carl Jung taught that the discomfort we feel in this in-between space is actually sacred. It's not a sign that something is wrong, but that something deeper is awakening. This spiritual discomfort, the sense of not fitting into your own life, is the soul's cry for authenticity. It urges you to let go of what's safe but false and step into what's unknown but real. And yes, it can feel lonely. You're no longer who you were and not yet who you're becoming. But in this space, transformation is quietly unfolding. This is not a collapse. It is a clearing. You are shedding borrowed identities and making room for your essence to lead. The things you're losing weren't meant to follow you into the next stage of your life. If you feel disconnected from your old self, trust that it's because you've outgrown the version of you that could only survive, and now you're being called to thrive. If you feel the old version of you slipping away and you're ready to embrace your true self, comment below, "I am becoming my authentic self." Let this be your sacred yes to growth, healing, and deep transformation. Sign 3. Questioning old truths. You begin to doubt what you once believed, not out of rebellion, but because something deeper is awakening within you. It starts as a quiet discomfort, a subtle tension between what used to feel true and what now feels empty. You look at your life, your choices, your values, your long-held beliefs, and for the first time, you wonder if they were truly yours or simply borrowed from others. This isn't destruction, it's purification. You are not falling apart, you are being peeled open. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But you, in this moment, are beginning to face yours, and that takes courage. It feels like your identity is unraveling. The goals you once chased with such fire may now feel meaningless. The roles you played to be accepted no longer fit. Even your dreams might begin to seem like costumes that no longer belong to you. This unraveling is not chaos, it's clarity. It's the death of illusion. It is your soul reclaiming space from everything false, everything forced. You're not going backwards. You're not breaking down. You're breaking free. This stage of spiritual awakening often brings discomfort because it challenges your ego, the part of you that needs certainty, that clings to identity, that fears change. But what if this identity you're mourning was never really you? Just a survival strategy shaped by expectations, fears, and conditioning? When you realize that, the pain of letting go turns into the power of becoming. You're shedding a skin that no longer fits, and beneath it, your true self is waiting quietly, patiently. What you're experiencing is a sacred inner clearing. Like a wildfire burning away dead branches so that new growth can emerge, this internal shift is preparing you for expansion. The mind may resist, but the soul rejoices. Because now, finally, the truth can breathe. You're being invited to live a life that's no longer about performing or pretending, but about presence, integrity, and alignment. That is the essence of transformation. This is the season of questions. Not surface-level ones, but soul-deep inquiries like, who am I without these labels? What do I believe when I stop seeking validation? What would I create if I trusted my inner voice over external noise? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. Because every meaningful awakening begins with the willingness to ask, to listen, and to unlearn. You may feel alone in this process. Others may not understand why you've changed, or why you're no longer interested in the things that once excited you. But you weren't made to stay the same. Growth is sacred, even when it's messy. What's happening now is not the loss of yourself, it's the return to yourself. And the more you release the illusions, the closer you come to your truth. This is not the end of your story. It's the sacred beginning of the best stage of your life. Subscribe to our channel and walk with a community that honors the courage it takes to question, release, and grow. Here, we explore the sacred journey of transformation, where letting go of old truths becomes the doorway to discovering your authentic self. Remember, shedding illusions is not loss, it's awakening. Sign 4. Awakening of intuition. When your intuition begins to awaken, life takes on a different texture, one that feels quieter but more certain, softer yet more powerful. You no longer feel the need to rationalize every decision, compare every path, or ask 10 different people for advice. Instead, you begin to feel pulled rather than pushed. You sense a deeper voice rising within, a knowing that doesn't need explanation. It isn't loud, but it's steady. It's not always logical, but it's always aligned. This is the birth of spiritual wisdom, the moment when you realize that your soul speaks not in words, but in resonance. At first, you may question it. How can something so subtle carry so much truth? How can a gut feeling outweigh years of logic or societal conditioning? But as you continue to follow this inner current, you notice a shift. The right people arrive without force. The right opportunities find you without chasing. And the wrong doors begin to close quietly on their own. Intuition becomes your compass. And suddenly, you no longer need to see the whole path to take the next step. You just know. You begin to trust your body's responses more than your mind's rehearsed thoughts. A lightness in the chest means yes. A tightening in the stomach signals no. The way someone's presence affects your energy tells you more than their words ever could. You stop arguing with your instincts and start honoring them. And each time you do, life rewards you with greater clarity, deeper peace, and unexpected synchronicities that feel too perfect to be random. There's a moment when you realize you're no longer afraid to go against the crowd, not because you want to rebel, but because your truth simply doesn't match the world's noise. You begin to value solitude because it sharpens your inner signal. You don't need to explain your choices anymore, because you're not making them to please others. You're making them to protect your alignment. And this is where true transformation begins, when your energy no longer leaks into confusion or indecision, but flows with quiet certainty toward what feels right. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." This is exactly what intuition demands of you, not to look for answers in everyone else, but to dare to look within. It's in those silent moments, when you're alone with your thoughts, your breath, your being, that the voice of truth speaks. And the more you honor that voice, the more trustworthy it becomes. Spiritual wisdom is not taught, it's remembered. And your intuition is the remembering of everything your soul already knows. Even when doubt creeps in, and it will, you'll find yourself coming back to that inner stillness, that space where fear doesn't live. It feels like being held by something invisible but real, something ancient and wise. you start realizing that you are not walking through life alone. Even in the absence of external support, there is a presence walking with you, guiding you, whispering, "Keep going. You're on the right path." That presence is your higher self. And once you begin to listen to it, really listen, the world outside no longer holds you hostage. You are free, not because you have control over everything, but because you finally trust what's inside. This is the quiet revolution of the soul. This is spiritual wisdom in action. If this message speaks to your soul, repeat after me. I trust my intuition. I am guided by inner wisdom, and it never leads me astray. Let this be your affirmation today. Your spirit knows the way. Sign 5. Longing for true growth. A sacred fire begins to stir within, not a hunger for external accolades, but a deep inner yearning to grow in a way that feels authentic to your soul. You no longer crave surface-level change, like learning new skills just to feel productive or adopting routines just because they're trendy. Instead, you begin seeking wisdom that nourishes your spirit, healing that touches the root of your wounds, and understanding that transforms pain into power. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And in this phase of your life, you begin to understand what that truly means, not just intellectually, but viscerally. You recognize that real growth is not about adding layers to your identity. It's about shedding what isn't yours. You are not trying to become someone else. You are slowly remembering who you've always been beneath the noise, the masks, and the programming. This sacred process of becoming isn't glamorous. It requires silence, solitude, and the courage to look at parts of yourself you've long avoided. But something shifts. The pain becomes sacred, the discomfort becomes necessary, and the struggle becomes your teacher. You stop chasing external goals just for the sake of validation. You stop asking, "How can I perform better?" and start asking, "How can I live more truthfully?" This is the transition from performance to purpose. You realize that every wound you carry has been a hidden initiation, guiding you into deeper layers of truth. You begin to see that your journey was never a detour. It was the exact path meant to awaken you. There's a story of a man who spent years chasing career success, ticking off milestones one by one. Yet every promotion felt hollow. It wasn't until a health scare forced him into months of rest and reflection that he began to ask deeper questions. He stumbled across the teachings of Carl Jung during this period and began journaling, reflecting, and confronting his long-buried fears. He stopped seeing success as something to conquer and started to view growth as a process of deep alignment. His transformation didn't look like a grand reinvention. It looked like stillness, simplicity, and finally saying no to everything that felt fake. That is the essence of real growth. It strips you, humbles you, and frees you. You start honoring your own rhythms, no longer pushing yourself to meet deadlines that mean nothing to your heart. You start listening to your intuition more than the noise outside. You realize you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to embody your truth. Carl Jung spoke of individuation as the process of becoming whole, not perfect, but integrated. That's what you're doing now. You are no longer trying to perfect a role, you are learning to embrace your full self, shadow and all. This phase of your life isn't about looking good, it's about feeling aligned. You stop asking, "How can I succeed?" and begin asking, "What feels right for my soul?" Growth you discover is not linear. It's cyclical, emotional, mysterious. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like it is breaking down. But you trust the process now. You trust the divine timing of your transformation. The longing inside of you is not weakness. It is the compass of your soul leading you to truth. Every time you choose depth over distraction, presence over performance, wholeness over hustle, you step further into the best stage of your life. The sacred fire keeps burning, not to destroy, but to refine. Not to consume, but to illuminate. And in that fire, you find yourself again. If this message has stirred something deep within you, leave a comment of faith. I am ready for true growth. I choose healing, wisdom, and purpose. Sign 6. Releasing toxic ties. You begin to feel something subtle, yet undeniable shift within you. Certain people who once made you feel understood now make you feel exhausted. Conversations that used to entertain you now leave you feeling hollow. Patterns you tolerated suddenly seem unbearable. This isn't you becoming cold or distant. It's you awakening. Your spirit is beginning to remember its own value. You're experiencing a profound inner shift, the kind Carl Jung might describe as the shadow stepping back so the self can emerge. This is a sign of spiritual awakening. Your soul no longer wants to carry what was never meant for it. You no longer see discomfort as something to endure, but as a signal. A signal that your energy is being drained. What once felt like normal now feels heavy. The people who once surrounded you now feel like echoes of a former life. There is no dramatic confrontation, no loud departure, just a quiet, sacred detachment. You begin to honor your own presence more than others' approval. And this shift is where the transformation begins. The ties that held you in place start to fall away, not because you are running, but because you are rising. You're not rejecting others. You're returning to yourself. You may feel guilt. That's normal. The desire to be kind, to hold space for others, to remain loyal, even when it hurts. You've carried that for a long time. But now, your spirit whispers something different. That kindness must include you too. You cannot heal others by breaking yourself. You cannot serve from an empty soul. And so, you make a bold, quiet choice to walk away from the familiar pain and into unfamiliar peace. This is not a loss. It's a reclamation. Suddenly, the energy around you begins to shift. Without the weight of toxic ties, your aura expands. You become magnetic, and without effort, you begin to draw in people who feel like sunlight. They don't drain you, they nourish you. Their presence feels calm, not chaotic. You don't have to prove yourself to them, explain your worth, or earn their respect. They simply see you because you have finally seen yourself. They are not your rescue, they are your reflection. You begin to find beauty in solitude. You don't chase validation because you've made peace with your own silence. Boundaries stop being walls and become sacred lines drawn in love. Love for yourself, for your time, for your peace. And through this, your world slowly rearranges itself, not through force, but through frequency. This is the quiet power of spiritual awakening. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It unfolds like dawn. It whispers, "You're free now." And the truth is, not everyone can come with you to your next chapter. Some were only meant to teach you who you are not. Others served as mirrors until you found your true reflection. And as those ties fade, you begin to realize what you thought was abandonment was actually alignment. What you thought was rejection was divine redirection. You were never losing them. You were finding you. To affirm your healing and your return to sacred alignment, declare your release. Comment below, "I choose peace over poison," to honor your journey and inspire others to let go of what no longer serves their soul. Sign 7. Detachment from the old. When you begin to detach from the old, it's not about bitterness or running away. It's about peace. You're not escaping anything. You're simply no longer willing to betray your own energy to stay in places that no longer reflect who you are. What once felt deeply significant begins to lose its emotional weight, not because you no longer care, but because your soul is evolving. Your spirit no longer clings to what's familiar for the sake of comfort. It seeks resonance, truth, and alignment. This is not loss. It is sacred subtraction. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, clears out what is no longer in harmony with your higher self, creating space for what truly belongs. It's the soul's quiet way of saying, "I'm ready." You might find that certain conversations now feel empty. Routines that once gave you structure now feel suffocating, and environments that used to energize you now drain your spirit. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of transformation. You're not becoming less, you're becoming more of who you truly are. There's a spiritual wisdom in recognizing that detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means maturity. You're no longer acting from old wounds, but from new awareness. The people, habits, or identities that once defined you no longer fit because you've outgrown the frequency they operate on. This transition can feel disorienting at first. You may question whether you're becoming cold or distant, but in truth, you're simply returning to yourself with a new level of clarity. The noise that once distracted you now feels unbearable. The drama that once pulled you in now repels you. You begin to crave stillness, silence, and authenticity, not as an escape, but as a way of anchoring into who you really are. You stop explaining your decisions to others because you finally made peace with not being understood by those who haven't walked your path. Your detachment becomes an act of spiritual devotion. You let go not in resentment, but in reverence. You begin to honor the cycles of your soul and accept that not everything is meant to stay. Carl Jung wrote, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." And so, you stop resisting. You allow life to unfold without clinging, forcing, or fearing. You don't chase closure. You find it within yourself. You don't need validation. You carry your own truth. This sacred detachment is a powerful sign that you are entering the best stage of your life. A stage where authenticity replaces approval, where alignment is more important than attachment, and where your inner peace becomes non-negotiable. It is in this space that you realize you're not losing anything real. You're only releasing illusions. You're not becoming lonely, you're becoming whole. And you're not walking away from life, you're stepping into it, fully, finally, and fearlessly. If this message resonated with your soul, leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of truth and transformation. Type in the comments, "I release what no longer serves me and welcome alignment," to affirm your journey back to your authentic self. As you reflect on these 7 powerful signs, remember that the best stage of your life isn't just something you wait for, it's something you align with. Every moment of growth, Every step towards self-awareness is a step into your highest potential. If today's message from spiritual wisdom spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself like this video. Share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next step on your journey to transformation. Your best days are not behind you, they're unfolding now.